Hello and welcome to the Past Functional Skills video solutions for the AQA March 2022 Functional Skills English Level 2 reading paper. Before watching this video, please make sure that you've read the 3 sources in the insert and you've attempted to complete the paper yourself. Question 1. According to source A, why is sleep important? So here we want to look at source A and decide why sleep is important based on that source. So we'll have a little look at the source, and it says here that sleep is vital for mental and physical health and it impacts every part of the body. The rest of the source is all about the Calm app. It doesn't tell you about the health impacts of sleep. So here the students just copied out that quote and would definitely get the mark for that question. Question 2. You're advised to use a dictionary for this question. Source A states, you can drift off into peaceful restorative slumber. What does the word restorative mean in this quotation? So the options are uninterrupted, deep, healing or dreamless. Write the correct letter in the box. So here we need to get our dictionary and find out what restorative means. So if we look up restorative in the dictionary, the definition is serving to restore or capable of renewing health or strength. So anything that's to do with healing or restoration we're looking for. So uninterrupted definitely doesn't fit the bill here. Deep, well no, it doesn't mean a deep sleep. It has to be to do with health or restoration. So it would be C, healing. That is definitely to do with health, definitely to do with restoring somebody. And then finally, dreamless is incorrect. Now, if you didn't know what any of these words mean, you could look those up in the dictionary as well, and then you would have to decide which definition best fits with this word restorative. Question 3. The text implies that A, the Calm app is good value for money. B, famous people do not have any problem sleeping. C, everyone suffers from anxiety and stress. Or D, the narrators are chosen because they have boring voices. Write the correct letter in the box. So here we have to read the text and find out what it implies. So what does source A imply? What can we reason based on the text? Well, can we see that the Calm app is a good value for money? Well, yes, because it says there's plenty of content and it's just £28.99 for a subscription that lasts the whole year round. So it's under £2.50 a month. So that is pretty good value for money, and that's the correct answer. As for the rest of the answers, B, famous people do not have any problems sleeping. Well, famous people are mentioned here, but it doesn't actually say about them sleeping, it just says that they are narrating the Calm app. So that's incorrect. C, everyone suffers from anxiety and stress. Well, anxiety and stress are mentioned here. It says that Calm is stress relieving and it reduces anxiety, but it doesn't say that everyone suffers from these problems. So that's incorrect too. And finally, the narrators are chosen because they have boring voices. Now it does say that the voices of the celebrities help you unwind, but that doesn't mean that they're boring, it just means that they're relaxing. So that's incorrect as well. And the correct answer is A. Question 4. Use the information in source A to decide whether each statement about the Calm app is true or false. Put a tick in the correct box. So we're having a look at source A and we're deciding whether it's true, correct or false, incorrect. So the first statement is you must have a mobile phone to use the Calm app. Is that true or is that false? Well, let's scan the text for any mentions of a mobile phone. We can see here that you can use the app on a mobile, tablet and desktop, so not just a mobile. So that's false. You don't have to have a mobile phone, you could have a tablet instead. users of the Calm app can change the background sounds. Well, it does say here that you can be immediately greeted with the gentle sound of the outdoors, but then you can change it. So that's correct, that's true. The next statement, there are 40 tranquil nature settings in the app. Well, let's look for the nature settings. We see that there are almost 40 peaceful nature settings. And the key word there is almost. That means not quite 40, it might be 38 or 39. So that's false, there are not 40. An annual subscription to Calm costs $28.99. Well, we can see at the bottom here that it is just $28.99 for a subscription that lasts the whole year. And the whole year means the same as annual. So that's true. Question 5. The writer of source A presents both facts and opinions. Identify 2 facts about the sleep stories in the Calm app, and then identify 2 opinions about the sleep stories in the Calm app. So in this question, we need to focus on source A and identify 2 facts and 2 opinions in the text. And we also need to be taking facts and opinions that are specifically about the sleep stories. So that's really important because it is being written in bold in the question. So we need to only be looking at facts and opinions about the sleep stories. So what's the difference between a fact and an opinion? Well, a fact is something that can be proven to be true. We can verify a fact and we can't disagree with it. It is just a simple truth. So we can see in the document that it is a fact that the sleep stories are narrated by celebrities. So we can see that they are narrated by Stephen Fry, Joanna Lumley and Jerome Flynn, for example. These are all celebrities, and we've got other celebrities like Harry Styles and Idris Elba. So that's a fact because it is absolutely true, we can't disagree with it. And the sleep stories last between 15 and 45 minutes. We can see that that is another fact in the document. Generally, anything that includes numbers will be a fact, also known as a statistic, because any inclusion of numbers that you've got is a statistic there. Now, remember that we need to be focusing only on sleep stories. So if you identified a fact, for example, such as there are 40 peaceful nature settings, that would not be appropriate for the question because that is not focusing on the sleep stories. Let's take a look at the opinions. So we got a childish pleasure out of these. Now, whenever you're talking about an emotion, such as pleasure, it's probably going to be an opinion because opinions are the thoughts or feelings that the writer has. So in this review section here, we have a childish pleasure out of these written here, and found they helped us unwind in the evenings. So that's another opinion, that the sleep stories help you to unwind, because we could disagree with this. We could turn on a sleep story and think, well, this isn't really helping me at all. So an opinion is somebody's personal thoughts about something. And then another opinion we've got here is some titles are especially suitable for children. So you could have a different opinion and say that none of the titles are particularly suitable for children, or you could say that all of them are rather than some of them. So we could agree or disagree, so these are both valid opinions and they're specifically about the sleep stories. So the student will get both marks for identifying 2 correct facts and opinions on the topic given. Question 6. Explain how the writer of source A uses words and language techniques to describe the effects of the Calm app. You should provide examples from source A in your answer. So in this question we are explaining, which means that we need to give some kind of justification or reasoning behind what we are saying. We're looking only at source A, and we need to find some words and language techniques that have been used within the source. And we are specifically focusing on words and language techniques that have been used to describe the effects of the car map. So we need to be considering what effect the words and language techniques have created on the reader. What have they made the reader feel, or what have they made the reader think? And we need to provide examples from the source, which means we need to be using quotations in our answer. So let's take a look at a model answer for this question. The writer uses emotive adjectives such as calming and peaceful to persuade the reader that the car map will make them feel relaxed. So in this first sentence, we've already got a language technique that's been identified, so emotive language there. That's any language that makes the reader feel a certain emotion, or any language that refers to emotions. So we've got some examples here. We've got calming and peaceful, and these are direct quotes from the text. And then the student has gone on to describe and explain how the writer has created an effect using this technique. So these words persuade the reader that the car map will make them feel relaxed. So that is the effect that's being created there, the effect of the car map. When the writer lists the serene sounds of a flowing river, garden rain, tropical beach, crackling fireplace, they use a range of adjectives and adverbs that encourage the reader to imagine themselves in the calm settings of a river, garden, beach, or fireplace. So here we have another language technique. We've got listing, and then we've got an example from the text. We've got this quotation here. And then we've again got the effect that's been explained here. So we've got a range of adjectives, that's another language technique, and adverbs. So these language techniques, adjectives are words used to describe a noun, and adverbs are words used to describe a verb. And the effect is that these encourage the reader to imagine themselves in the calm settings that have been described. And then furthermore, the writer uses the sibilants of calming scene and soundscape to create a soft and soothing tone. So again, we've got a language technique. We've had sibilants being identified here. So if you haven't heard of sibilants, it is the alliteration, so the repetition of the word, of their letter S. So we've got scene and soundscape here. So that repetition of S to create sibilants. And again, we have an example from the text. We have calming scene and soundscape, and then the effect to create a soft and soothing tone in the text. So you won't have to write quite so much in your answer, but make sure that you have at least a few examples from the text and you've identified some language techniques and words correctly. And then the crucial part of this question, you need to explain the effects of these words and language techniques on the reader in order to get the full 3 marks. Question 7. You're advised to use a dictionary for this question. Source B states, detrimental consequences for your physical health. What does the word detrimental mean in this quotation? A, positive, B, harmful, C, significant, or D, limited. Write the correct answer in the box. So here we have to use a dictionary, and we're going to find the meaning of the word detrimental. So we're going to look that up in the dictionary, and we will see that it means causing loss or injury, damaging or harmful. So it's definitely not positive, that is the opposite, and it is harmful. It is causing loss or injury, and it is damaging. So harmful and detrimental mean the same thing. Significant, well, that just means important, and limited means that there aren't enough of something, or it's restricted in some way. So harmful is the most appropriate option here, and it could be used to replace the word detrimental in this sentence. So the correct answer is B. Question 8. According to source B, A. 1 in 3 people suffers from stress. B. Men are more likely to buy sleeping pills online. C. Sleep helps the body to produce glucose. Or D. Sleep-deprived people are more at risk of accidents. Write the correct letter in the box. So we're looking at source B, and we've got to identify which statement is true. So A, 1 in 3 people suffers from stress. Well, it says that sleep deprivation can cause stress, but it doesn't say anywhere that 1 in 3 people suffers from stress. So that's incorrect. B, men are more likely to buy sleeping pills online. Well, the patient is male and he says that he has tried sleeping pills bought online, but that's just one person. We don't know from the source that men are more likely to buy sleeping pills online. C, sleep helps the body to produce glucose. So let's have a quick scan through the text and have a look for glucose being mentioned. So we can see that sleep helps the body to process glucose. Now, process does not mean the same thing as produce. So you've got to read that really carefully there to make sure that you don't make a mistake. So process means that the body is using glucose. Produce means that the body is making glucose. So that's incorrect. And then D, sleep-deprived people are more at risk of accidents. Now, we can see that this is correct because constantly feeling tired can make you more likely to have accidents. So the correct answer here is D. Question 9. Use the information in source B to decide whether each statement is true or false. Put a tick in the correct box. So the first statement, we are looking for the patient with the problem sleeping is a man in his 40s. So is this true, is it correct, or is it false? So let's look at the patient. Well, he is male, so he is a man, and he's in his 40s, he's 42. So that's true. The second statement, leptin is a type of weight loss medication. Well, let's look for any mentions of leptin. It says here that leptin is a chemical which makes you feel full. It says it's a chemical. It does not say that it is a type of weight loss medication. So that's false. The third statement, overwork is the main cause of sleeping problems. So we can see here that 1 in 3 of us suffers from poor sleep with stress, computers and overwork often blamed. But it doesn't say that overwork is the main cause of sleeping problems. It just suggests that it's one of the causes. So that's false. And finally, this patient will be seen by a doctor before advice is given. So we've got to see if the patient will be seen by a doctor, and that is true because it says here the action, we will make a doctor's appointment for a medical screening. So he will see a doctor. So that is true. Question 10. From source B, list 3 ways lack of sleep can affect mood and mental health. So we're focusing on source B and we need to find 3 ways that a lack of sleep is affecting our mood and mental health specifically. So we're not going to be looking at anything to do with physical health. We just want to look at these mental symptoms and emotional symptoms as well. And we need to find 3 effects that have been created by lack of sleep. So if we have a quick look at the source, we can see that this person feels grumpy, so their mood has been affected there, and they feel grumpy when they don't sleep very well, and they struggle to focus at work. That's another mental symptom that they've got there. And then the doctor explains that several sleepless nights, so a lack of sleep, can cause brain fog. So that's affecting someone's mental health, their ability to concentrate, and depressed mood. So focusing on mood there. And then the rest is really about physical health. And remember, we're only focusing on mental health here. So the student has identified that a lack of sleep can make you feel grumpy, it can cause brain fog, and leads to a depressed mood. Now notice that the student has used quotations directly from the text there to show the examiner that they can pull parts out of the text and to ensure that they get the marks because they are using the exact language that has been used in the text. Question 11. From source B, list 3 benefits of good quality sleep. So I want to look at source B and find 3 benefits, so 3 positives created by good quality sleep. So let's have a look for the positives created by good quality sleep. Well, we can see here that they are talked about in this paragraph here. And it says that a solid night's sleep, most of us need around 8 hours, is essential for a long and healthy life. A good night's sleep boosts immunity, so that's one option you could put, helping us to fend off viruses. And that's something else you could put down. Leptin is a chemical which makes you feel full. People who sleep less than 7 hours have less of this, so they tend to eat more. Therefore, a decent sleep can keep you slim. So here we've got keep you slim. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to lose weight, you're just going to stay as slim as you currently are. So just watch out for that one. Linked to this is a reduced risk of type 2 diabetes, as sleep helps the body to process glucose. So we've got reduced risk of diabetes here. And finally, good quality sleep can even help couples trying for a baby. So it can make couples more fertile, help them to have a baby. So the students identified here that it boosts immunity, keeps you slim, and can help couples trying for a baby. They've used quotes from the source to make sure that they've got all of the correct answers there. Question 12. You're advised to use a dictionary for this question. Source C states that blue light, which inhibits melatonin production. In this quotation, the word inhibits means A stimulates, B prevents, C increases, or D reverses. Write the correct letter in the box. So we're going to get our dictionary and we're going to look up the word inhibits, which is used in this sentence here. Now the definition of inhibits is restrains, hinders, arrests, or checks something. Now, which of these options is correct? Well, if you didn't know what any of these means, you can look that up in a dictionary as well. So stimulates means causes something to happen, so that's incorrect because we're looking for something that stops something from happening, like restrains it. Prevents, now that's a good answer, that's the correct answer, because restrains, hinders, checks something, inhibits something, that's the same as preventing it, stopping it from happening. C, increases, well no, that means make bigger or multiply. And then D, reverses, that means to undo a change, so that's incorrect. So the correct answer there is B, prevents. Question 13. From source C, list 3 things a teenager should do to improve the quality of their sleep. So here we're looking at source C and we want to find 3 things that a teenager should do to improve the quality of their sleep. So improve, make better. So if we have a look, we can see that teenagers are being told to limit screen use in the bedroom and switch off their screens an hour before bedtime. They're also being asked to not binge before bedtime and not have caffeinated drinks like cola, tea and coffee after midday. And they're being told to keep their room dark, cool, quiet and comfortable, and maybe even use blackout blinds. So these are all of the tips to improve their sleep. So here the student's written, limit screen use in the bedroom, avoid having too much caffeine and keep their room dark, cool, quiet and comfortable. They've used quotes from the source to make sure that they're getting the correct answers there. Question 14. Compare source A and source C. Write about what they say and how the material is conveyed. You may wish to refer to the level of detail, presentation and language, formality, possible bias, and how the writers come across. So in this question, we need to be looking at two sources, source A and source C. Make sure that you're not writing about source B in this question. And we need to compare them, which means we want to be using comparative words such as both. So both sources do this, or we might want to be looking at differences as well. So source A does this, in contrast, source C does this. We need to be writing about what the sources say. So the content of the sources, what topic they're talking about and what they're saying about it, what kinds of opinions they have. And also how the material is conveyed. So that means we need to be looking out for any language techniques such as rule of three, alliteration, similes, metaphors, that kind of thing. We also have some ideas of what we could refer to here. So the level of detail, so is one source more detailed than another source, and why might that be? Any presentation and language that's been used, so are there any specific words or phrases that is similar or different in the sources? Formality, so are they formal or informal? Bias, and how they come across. So you don't have to write about all of these different things, just choose a few of them and make sure that you're choosing to write about things that you're very familiar with. So if you're not sure about the difference between formal and informal, avoid talking about formality because you don't want to be incorrect. So this is a 6-mark question, so we do want to be quite detailed in our comparison and make sure that all of our comparisons are well explained. So let's take a look at what the student has written. Source A is more biased than source C. Source A advertises an app using persuasive techniques including triples such as help you reset, reduce anxiety and be still in your moment. In contrast, source C is informative and more factual, as the aim of the source is to help people get to sleep rather than to advertise an app. Source C therefore includes more facts, such as our bodies produce melatonin. So this is a really great start to this answer. To start with, we have a direct comparison. So we're saying source A is more biased than source C. So directly comparing the two sources there. And we're talking about bias. Source A advertises an app using persuasive techniques such as triples. So we're talking about how the material is being conveyed there, and we'd identified a language technique. And then we've got a really good example of this language technique being used in the text. So we've got help you reset, reduce anxiety and be still in your moment. It's a really good idea to use examples from the text, so use these direct quotations to make sure that you understand fully what the text is about and you can explain the effects of individual phrases. And then we've got in contrast, one of those lovely comparison words there. Source C is informative and more factual. So we're comparing the purposes of the sources there. So source A is more persuasive and source C is more informative and factual. And then they're explaining that the aim of the source is to help people get to sleep. So we're talking about what they say there, the content of the source, rather than to advertise an app. So we're saying that source A is advertising this app talking specifically about the sleeping app, whereas source C is trying to help people get to sleep. And we've got a little bit of additional explanation saying that source C includes more facts. So that is another language technique that has been used in the source. And we've got an example of this here. So our bodies produce melatonin. So we've got loads of examples, we've got loads of comparative words, and we have identified some of the language techniques and explained why those have been used in the text. So because the texts have different purposes, they're using different language techniques and different words and phrases. Both sources are formal and avoid using contractions and slang, as they both aim to provide information that should be taken seriously. However, the focus and levels of detail in the sources are different. Source A focuses on informing readers about the car map and gives extremely detailed information, such as 40 peaceful nature settings and 15 to 45 minutes, to persuade the reader using facts about the app. In contrast, source C does not use specific and detailed figures, but offers facts more generally and provides tips about sleep. The different focuses of the sources are reflected in the images, with source A providing an image of the car map and source C depicting teenagers sleeping. So we've got quite a lot of comparison there, and we've got the comparative words being used again. So both sources, we've got in contrast being used again, and they've mentioned the different focuses of the sources. So comparing both of the text throughout. And we've identified the formality. So we've got both sources being formal and not using contractions or slang. So that is an example of the kinds of language that they're using there, how the material is being conveyed. And then linking that back to the aims, they're both providing information. And then we have another difference identified here, because they've got different focuses and different levels of detail. So we're mentioning the level of detail in the sources here. So we've got source A focusing on informing readers and giving information. And then we've got another example from the text here. And then in contrast, source C is not using these specific detailed figures like source A does, but it's offering more sort of generalised facts and tips. And then we've got a quick comparison of the different images that have been used based on the different things that the texts are talking about. So overall, we have definitely thoroughly answered this question by talking about a range of things such as the level of detail, the formality, different language that has been used, and the bias of the sources as well. And we've given a really detailed explanation of how the material has been conveyed using different language techniques.